So that was really the impetus of me switching from an economics degree to an international business degree, landing ultimately into an accounting degree, and then getting my bachelor's and master's. And I will be going for my doctorate in accounting because I want to teach later. But that's what got me into it, and I love it.
More on that later. I'm interested to hear more
More
about
on that
that.
later.
Yeah.
Dr. Lopez. I like that. I like the sound of that.
Doctor, I already
Yeah.
want to call him Dr. Lopez. I want to start early.
I want to be
Can I
that
premature?
person in the meme where it's like somebody dying and they're like, "Doctor, we
Dr.
need a
Bill.
doctor in the house." I'm like, "I'm a doctor of accounting."
Dr. Will. I love it. It's like Dr. Phil, but it's
So-
Dr. Will. I love it. Step on it. Sons of CPAs. Why don't we explain the name, or why don't we let you?
No,
explain
we don't. You don't have to explain the name.
We
That's
got
the
an
beauty of the
intro.
name.
Are we recording?
Yeah, I just started the recording. You want to introduce? Why don't you let me do it? Because you'll talk.
Please
extensively.
do it. Yes.
All right, we ready?
Ready?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sons of CPAs. I'm Jason Ackerman. Pat Scarano here, the co-host, and our special guest today, Will of Gusto, formerly of accounting. I just forgot your old firm name. Tell us your old firm name.
Will of
Blacked out.
House Lopez. This is where we're starting. Will of
Son
House
of a
Lopez.
CPA. Thanks for having me on the show. Yeah, AdvisorFi. That was the old practice.
AdvisorFi.
South Florida. Those were the old stomping grounds.
Less than a week ago, I was wearing an AdvisorFi t-shirt.
That's right. Stranger Accounting. Yeah, I really love what you guys are doing here. And I'm thinking about the name of the podcast and I think, yeah, this is so good. But yeah, now
Word.
Gusto
Don't
and
flatter us. That's too much.
Yeah,
That's too much.
already kissing ass, and we're not even started. Got a
So
smile on my
let's
face.
go back. Tell us how you got into accounting.
oh my gosh, it was a long journey in. And I definitely didn't get into accounting because education convinced me. I got into accounting because accounting got me. I was loving just the thoughts and the way accounting fleshed out at job sites and jobs I had, that it attracted me. And I tell the story that I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. What's interesting about the Latino population, Latinx population, extremely entrepreneurial demographic.
Oh, I know
And
that.
so-
I know that first.
Very entrepreneurial. They start businesses 10-1 compared to any other demographic and race. And my family was pretty much a reflection of that, of the stats. I think almost all of my extended family members have their own businesses.
You got the workers and the builders, though. In the
Oh, yeah.
demographic, you got the workers and the
So
builders.
you have
The
clients.
builders.
So they
Yeah.
needed they needed an accountant to do
Yeah.
all their books.
Oh, yeah, they were really good at starting businesses, really bad at managing it day to day with the accounting and everything. My dad and my mom had pretty successful businesses. My dad was actually on track to be almost like the Office Depot of the 70s and 80s before Office Depot was a thing. His biggest clients were like AAA, Pan Air, American Airlines, and he would supply them with office equipment. This was before computers came out. He was like huge distributor of office furniture and typewriters.
He play a part in the whole Pan Am "Catch Me If You Can" thing. Leonardo DiCaprio.
Probably.
Those Pan Am checks,
If
there were
anybody was
typewriters
taking notes
used.
on a typewriter, he was involved.
There were typewriters used. My uncle actually was friends with the guy. He was in. I don't know, but let's keep going. Sorry.
Yeah.
I hear Pan Am, and then my mind goes there. But
Oh yeah, he just told me stories growing up of all these cool businesses, and have you ever seen Never Ending Story? I was that kid that was just sucked into the book, but except it wasn't a book, it was stories from my dad and my mom of all these businesses that they had. And I just saw myself totally
the
engulfed.
book of business.
Yeah.
The book of business.
I grew up seriously thinking that business life and business ownership and entrepreneurship was the greatest adventure known to humankind. It was like this thing that you would get yourself into, and it swirled left and right like rivers and streams, and you just didn't know what was going to be like on the other side of the waterfall. And
Well, I think you take that approach to life in general, though. Just
I do.
personally knowing you could probably be doing anything and enjoy it just as much as you're enjoying this.
No, totally. But I worked almost full time in high school because I grew up really poor too. So I put myself through college. I have early memories of all the way up to age 7 of living in the back of one of my dad's businesses. My mom boiling water on a stovetop and taking a bath with a 5-gallon bucket over a drain. And I think a lot of that really just inspired me to be like, wow, the journey can be really good or it can be really bad, or it could just be really rough. And one of my jobs after I graduated high school, I was a project manager for a parking company. I was 20 at the time. It was a startup parking company in downtown West Palm Beach called One Parking. The startup happened out of the owner's house. Our role was to take over the entire downtown mall, which was massive, with all self-parking and valet. And so I was in charge of valet. And so I launched 6 valet locations, managed 100 team members underneath me. And then what really enticed me about accounting was I was working with a guy named Michael Macerano, still friends with him today, total Italian dude. And he was like the cash operations, the cash management guy. He was doing the ones I didn't know it at the time, but doing internal controls and like setting up the processes to make sure that we weren't being stolen from and that there was segregation of duty. Didn't know that term at the time, but there was segregation of segregation of duties going on with our teams.
Well, with
and
the
internal
Italians, it is
controls.
segregations of dirties.
But he was the one that was like making accounting really fun. And I was like, wait a minute. I was just in charge of the project management side of things. And I was like, tell me what you do. And he was just unpacking accounting, but he too didn't have really an accounting education. He fell into it and got really good at it because he just had that intuition about him and intuition about accounting. And that's why I love it so much. Like, you don't have to be formally trained in accounting like I was, or probably like you guys are, but you can learn it on the side and it just totally engulfs your mind and your heart about it. So that was really the impetus of me switching from an economics degree to an international business degree, landing ultimately into an accounting degree, and then getting my bachelor's and master's. And I will be going for my doctorate in accounting because I want to teach later. But that's what got me into it, and I love it.
More on that later. I'm interested to hear more
on
about
that later.
Yeah.
Dr. Lopez. I like that. I like the sound of that.
Doctor, I already
Yeah.
want to call him Dr. Lopez. I want to start early.
I want to be that
trigger?
person in the meme where it's like somebody dying and they're like, doctor, we
Dr.
need a doctor
Bill.
in the house. I'm like, I'm a doctor of accounting.
Dr. Will. I love it. It's like Dr. Phil, but it's Dr. Will. I love it.
Oh God. Okay, so how did you then decide you're going to open up your own accounting practice?
Yeah. So I started in private accounting. I was a controller for a large not-for-profit that was doing like 35 million in revenue. And that's when I started to implement huge enterprise accounting software, building at the time bridges between POS systems to the ledger. And so we went from like QuickBooks Desktop to Mass 90, which is a Sage product. So I did all that carving and launching.
Were you a
And then
CPA at that point?
No, this was me early days.
Okay.
And I was working with the departments or like the front locations of this non-for-profit because it was like a raw vegan health institute. So we had a spa center, we had a store and all that physical places. And I was tying the POS systems to the ledger and then closing out the books and doing roll forwards and inventory roll forward. And that's when I got super dangerous with accounting, that I took a break, finished off my schooling, and then said, I'm going to get a job in public accounting. I landed a job. Actually, I got 2 offers, one from PwC and then one from a small to mid-sized firm called Daskell Bolton. And I literally walked into these meetings at the end when I was really trying to decide. And I said, how fast can I run engagements? Because I was going the audit route.
Mm-hmm.
I said, how fast can I run engagements? Like, how fast can I get there?
You were impatient even then.
I was entrepreneurial, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to run things myself. And PwC just chuckled. They're like, 7 to 10 years, you'll probably get there if you're lucky. And I was like, okay. And then I went to Daskell, and Michael Daskell runs Daskell Bolton. I said, how fast can I get there? And he says, if you're really good, 12 to 18 months. And so I went to Daskell Bolton. And sure enough, in 12 to 18 months, I was running audit engagements and got really good at multi-entity consolidations, reverse mergers, triangular mergers. And that's what I specialized in. And
what does that tell you about these big companies?
They're just not listening.
Waste.
There's a lot of waste. There's unintentional hierarchy. And what I learned was they're not really listening to the voice of the customer. They're really listening to just their own ambitions and their own bureaucracy, really. That's what they want to try to
They're jerking themselves off pretty much.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah. And so I spent 5 years, made it to senior financial statement auditor. and was primed up for manager level. And I just said, no, I don't want it. And I'm going to go start my own practice. There's a lot of things I don't like about this experience. It had nothing to do with auditing because I still love auditing. And it just had everything to do with the way the firm was working.
Wow.
And,
I've never heard too many people say I still love auditing.
Oh, I still do.
keep
I think
going,
I think it's made me the huge consultant that I am. And I'll admit it today. Like, I think traditional accounting can make an accountant really good. Me becoming a financial statement auditor, learning GAS and GAAP made me really dangerous when I got in front of, here's this 26-year-old in front of Newsmax, which was one of my clients, by the way. I did the financial statement audit for Newsmax Media, and sitting in front of Daryl, who was the CFO, who was easily 20 years my elder, being the CFO of a massive corporation, and him and I literally going back and forth on debits and credits, like having a great time, like
riffing
riffing accounting
credits.
Yeah, and like even
cash to accrual, we're killing it.
Even I gave him recommendations on how to like run the general ledger. And I think traditional accounting has a lot of great things about it. And what's really disappointing though,
but I agree with you on it, and I've done audit, and it's a valuable learning lesson, but I still don't think that anybody really loves audit, but keep going.
I actually built the model for Newsmax on capitalizing direct response marketing costs. Like to capitalize it to literally all that marketing spend that they have and promoting themselves and all that kind of stuff. I was the one that tied the actual practicality of that to the gas framework and said, let's move tens of millions from the income statement up to the balance sheet and amortize it over time. And boom, bottom line was like saved, and it's all legit. And like,
that's a formative experience though.
Yeah,
you did something big and you
Yeah.
were doing it in audit. I get it.
Yeah, I just wanted to do things that were a little more modern. So that's why I started my own practice. But I still loved accounting.
Did you guys do audit when you first started out? So wait, you're CPA by now, right? I forgot
No, I lapsed my CPA, so no longer.
Okay. No, I'm talking about in this point in your journey right here. You're working at that firm. Why'd you leave?
Like I said,
he was burnt out, bro. You listen.
Burnt out. I know, but like you're right.
I was burnt out and I didn't like the structure.
You loved it though. Okay, but you love audit. So I'm going to start.
So what was your ideal firm that you're trying to start?
I had no idea, man. I really didn't. And I think the ideal firm was not doing whatever I saw we were doing. That was the ideal firm.
So you learned what not to do.
I learned what not to do, and I was looking for what to do. So I had no vision to this. And I think one of my personal strengths, I feel like, and I have a lot of deficits on myself, but one of my personal strengths, which is why I came over to Gusto, is I have personally just great intuition on things. I really can feel where things can go and use critical thinking and judgment in order to fill in the gap. And quite honestly, just taking a leap of faith, right? You can't validate leadership. You can't validate vision. All you can do is take what you've experienced, combine it with a little bit of intuition, and just give it a shot.
Quantify hope and inspiration too.
Yeah, you can't quantify.
And by giving people that, a lot of times you can succeed in a lot of whatever you put out to do. Yeah. And you put that off. You exude that.
Yeah, and for me, I think my profession, having gone formally through accounting education, formally through traditional and very professional accounting, the way the systems are set up don't allow room for intuition, right? It's too rigid, it's too structured. And if there is any kind of vision you're trying to cast, it's about opening up another department that is subjected to the same garbage that happens. And so for me, like, that is not innovation for the profession. And I really do care about accounting, and I really do care about my industry. And it's not me being a millennial saying I want a better life myself. I'm like, what if like my great grandchildren want to be an accountant and they look at the current model today and they're like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I didn't want to do it either. And for me, it's trying whatever I can to carve a way that's just not what we're doing.
Yeah, I feel like you became an influencer in the community before Gusto while you're running your own firm. Talk about
that. Was just because I was having fun. And I think that's where a lot of us need to be. Is I think we, like, to your earlier point, like, you're trying to launch something perfect. That's not the goal. The goal is to just have fun and be a little creative with whatever you're trying to do, and you'll find your way.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll just find your way.
Mm-hmm. As long as you stay and you hold it down, that's how you got onto YouTube and started doing that because you were you and here's your opportunity, and people took to it. That's probably had a lot to do with how you ended up eventually at Gusto.
Oh
I would,
yeah, I think it totally influenced it.
yeah. So tell us about running your own firm though, because that's what a lot of this started out. How long did Advisor Fi? What year was it when you left? If I missed it.
No, I left in 19 and I started it in 12. So
Okay.
left my practice to join Gusto in 2019 and then started my practice like
2012.
2012, like the first month, like January. No, actually
That's
May, because I gave like a 6-month notice at my practice and said, hey, I'm bouncing in 6 months. I'm going to work harder than you've ever seen me work hard before. But I don't want to leave. I don't want to break the continuity on these clients. Like I really cared about Newsmax and all these clients that I really loved. But yeah, 2012 was the year.
That seems to be the prime year though for a lot of people that are in this bubble of the new generation of accounting, however you want to call it. I don't know, Ackerman, what do you have to say about that? I feel like 2012 has come up a lot.
I don't know about that. I just think the
Did you start using
recession-
Xero?
2013.
13. Okay. Sorry.
But it was around
It was
that
close.
period though.
Yeah, well, I think
would
that's
think
when
so,
the
yeah.
technology really started changing in accounting, because that's
You
when
came at a
Xero
good
came to
time
the
because
US.
you started at the right time, I guess.
Well,
is what
I tell the story here at Gusto to like leadership, and I like to tell it all the time, is what happened because I've been in accounting since 2003-ish, maybe. Yeah, 2003 sounds right. So been doing accounting, started private in 2003, morphed my way to public around 07, 08, and then my own practice in 12. But 2008 to 2010 were the years that totally brought the cloud to mind.
Okay.
If you go back and you see what happened during that time, it was the Great Recession. Companies were obliterated. If you go back and you look at the profession stats, the profession lost half of its workforce. Small firms had to basically shut their doors and go work from home, not to escape a pandemic, but to literally curb costs. And they were trying to figure out
This is just a cloud of irony around everything you're saying.
Oh yeah, it's a cloud of irony.
Yeah,
we're experiencing 2009 all over again, in my opinion. And what was happening then, though, was because they were flocking to home, they were looking for new ways to better serve clients, and they were looking ways to curb costs for themselves, curb costs for their clients. And in fact, the profession did such a great job that revenues were flat year over year from 8 to 9, 9 to 10. And if you think that's not a great job, the term at the time was flat as up, because no industry at the time was actually had flat revenues year over year. It was like negative, double digit negatives, like year over year.
Crematoriums or cemeteries. What's the place that you go to? The funeral homes. I'm sure they were doing okay.
Is that where you hang out at funeral homes?
No, I just think
that's where he met his wife.
I think we're getting at death.
She lost her first husband, and he was just hanging out. It was smart. So, if you were gonna start an accounting firm again, what would you do differently?
Oh my gosh, I would do so much differently.
Homes. Niche funeral homes.
I would get into niche funeral homes. No, I'm just kidding. Dude, I have a lot of regrets that I think also coming to Gusto has really opened up my eyes quite a bit around team management. And I look back at my years and I think, wow, I really did do a bad job in really helping my team members really see themselves in the vision and able to see themselves connecting to the greater vision. I did my best according to my current ability, much further along that journey now than I've ever been professionally. I think what I would have done.
How could you regret what you did if you didn't know?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I reserve the right to get smarter, and I think we all do, right? But if I were to go back, like if I were to leave Gusto and start a practice again, I wouldn't do anything different regarding the way we package and we sell and we price our value. I wouldn't adopt anything new as far as technology. I would use the same tech stack approaches, vertical, horizontal, like all the stuff that we've learned over the decades. But what I would do differently is what Gusto has been able to really teach me is that being able to inspire, motivate a team to see themselves in the greater vision, beyond the firm's goal and vision and mission values was where I think I would do work differently. So many times at AdvisorFi, I didn't even talk about our mission and vision. I would just talk to my team and I would say, look, the profession is in a revolution. You are basically a revolutionary, right? And you just work at my practice, but ultimately you're part of the entire force, the army that's pushing
You
this
had
ball.
them turning right, turning left, going in all directions with you when you should have had them see that vision. Because if you, yeah,
Yeah, and so for me, I was trying to inspire them to be something bigger than AdvisorFi was. I wanted to see their connection into the greater connection of like why we all joined this thing to begin with. And I think a lot of firms fixate way too much on their own vision and mission. And I think it's such a detriment that the leaders at practices need to do that work. Like, yes, set your firm's vision. Yes, set your firm's vision and mission values and stuff like that. But like the leaders need to like one up it a little bit and tie that vision work to what they really feel about the industry moving, right? Where they see themselves really moving and how that firm is just a small pawn in that whole journey, and inspire the team members to be there. Because what happens in the profession is people just get totally bogged down in the day to day, and they don't see a connection between the work that they do on a daily basis to really the advancing of the profession as a whole. And I know that sounds pretty lofty, but
well,
for
it
me,
sounds all about the profession and not about the clients at all. I'm not hearing anything about the clients in this.
no, they're both tangential.
So what's Gusto's overarching mission?
You guys are killing it in a lot of different areas right now. We didn't even get into your transition from your firm to Gusto.
Let him answer. Let him answer the Gusto
Let's hear it.
question.
To create a world where work empowers a better life, delivering peace of mind, creating a great place to work, and personal prosperity. We want to foster humanity at work. To make work meaningful, we must embrace what it means to be human in both heroic moments and difficult ones. We're not afraid to do really hard shit. People Advisory, powered by Gusto, is a big bet. As a result, Gusto was able to achieve extraordinary scale with values. We've had the ownership mentality, which everyone should have. We don't optimize for the short term. For me, when I see that Wall Street Journal said the economy runs through Gusto, and being able to connect the dot from the janitor to the Josh, Tomer, and Eddie, the founders of Gusto, and Gusto, you can't prove that stuff. You can't take measurements, and if it works, it's great.
Well, I think this is also, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I just see it as a larger manifestation of your vision and mission at AdvisorFi. Now with a lot more money and a lot more fucking resources and a lot more to do with it. But now you've matured and you can lead your team into doing shit for the profession. Every time you talked about AdvisorFi, you were talking about the profession and the industry. I didn't hear a lot about clients, but that's fine. That's actually why you're so successful now.
No,
And
I
that's what
care.
we need. We really need champions. You
I
care about
do.
the clients too.
Of course, I
We
care
know
about
that.
the clients. In fact, that's why People Advisory even exists. Was it's not that I cared about the profession. What I cared about was the
What the
miss of the
Mhm.
profession as it related to the work I was doing with clients. I did not have the acumen or Ackerman, Jason
Ackerman.
Ackerman, the Jason Ackerman. No,
That Jason
No.
Acumen. Oh, he's going Jason
Oh God.
Acumen now.
I didn't
Oh,
have the
oh.
expertise at the time that the profession did not deliver to me personally through formal education, through even public accounting, that said to me, Will, you need to be better and listen more about what your clients are really asking for. And you need to be better about enhancing your skills.
Well, you
I
question
don't know
everything though.
everything. I
You
don't know
question
everything.
everything, and that's what yeah, I guess you just said it as I said it, but that's what you makes outside of school. You question the industry, you question how everything's running. Isn't that what makes you so innovative in it and part of that change?
I don't think so. What's the quote from Albert Einstein where he's, I'm not a genius, I'm just curious. And that's exactly I think, how we should be in the profession. I'm not a genius here. Like, I really am not. I probably have a super low IQ score. I've never tested myself, but I'm sure I do. But I'm very curious, and I'm very willing to fail, and I'm very willing to test. And so I think for many of us who really care about the profession that we're in, and I really do, it's a matter of being curious about things like that. I'll tell the one story that literally was like the impetus to People Advisory. I had a client, San Francisco, that was Salesforce Consulting. His name was OJ. And I remember 2017, even before I even went to Gusto, 2017, on his income statement, he had spent $650,000 in recruiter fees.
Legal fees?
Recruiter fees.
Okay.
And his staff was churning left and right. In San Francisco, competition on compensation packages, you got to be on top of your game. I remember him literally slouched in the chair and, dude, I don't know what to do. What do you suggest I do? That's killing our margin. He had a team of 10 trying to get to 15 and couldn't get there. And he was trying to grow. And so I did what the profession has taught me to do. Maybe you should find a recruiter that's cheaper. And that was where I was like, maybe I don't know everything. Like, I'm progressive as far as accounting and advisory work. And even then I was like, oof, I don't have it. I realized that the advice he was looking for was both financial and people oriented. It was this intertwining the financial with the reality of how people in finance are intertwined, and then layering in the additional deliverables that marry the qualitative feedback with your quantitative analysis, delivering tools and resources the client could use. We're missing that closer understanding of how people in finance are intertwined, which is where People Advisory was birthed from, and the marrying of qualitative feedback and quantitative feedback.
How do people not see that they're connected? That's what I'm questioning first. Is who's questioning that people in finance are disconnected?
The profession is telling us that. So the profession. So go back to your accounting 101 courses, right? If you're learning debits and credits, you don't see people in debits and credits. If you're learning fundamental accounting or even GAAP accounting in school, they're not tying people to the numbers. It's been a beating drum for a long time in the profession. You really got to get good at the numbers. And then the other stuff are like fluff. And I've just learned personally, like, that is so wrong.
Oh, I think it's the opposite. You're talking about the profession as a whole. I was looking at it like, how is that not obvious or common sense?
Well, realize that we are products of the education that we're given. Yeah. And it's almost like Neo taking the red pill or the blue pill to wake up. You're just born in thinking a certain way about accounting. And it really takes a little bit of a wake-up call to see the reality of things.
It just all sounds like common sense.
It's common sense, but very few people actually go out on a limb on it.
Okay.
They stay where it's safe. And financial analysis is where it's safe. Accounting, debits, and credits is where it's safe. What I'm saying is we need to not be safe anymore as a profession. We can clearly
call it what we want to call it. We want to help our clients in a bigger way than just, here's your taxes, here's your books, here's your financial statements. We got to be doing a lot more.
Yeah, and you can help your clients in a bigger way, and that bigger way is not all inclusive around the general ledger.
No, it's not at all. It's general ledger is already what's already happened in the past. We're looking at what decisions should they make moving forward.
Right.
Where's that? Where are the numbers for that? Besides the
exactly.
Forecast? I guess you can say that there's a forecast for it, but where do you get the numbers for the forecast? You've got to use your head, and you've got to think outside the box of what they put us in. And they, meaning the industry or our education? I don't know.
I think people like you guys are just on the fringes, really. You're just not mass majority. And I think people like you guys, and like even the purpose of this podcast is to just continue the narrative. Like, it's unfortunately folks like us are like the crazy dude on the corner holding up the sign that says the end is near. And it's at some point, people are going to be like, that guy wasn't crazy after all. And I think it takes a lot of grit to keep pushing that ball uphill.
I like that. I like the way you put that too.
Jason, you look like you're in deep thought, bro.
I'm just waiting for Scott to stop talking so I can ask some questions.
Go for it.
Oh yeah, his questions come after my comments. I'm the sizzle. He's the steak. He's got the real. I'm just.
So I think what's cool about Gusto is that it took a problem, payroll, that needed to be solved for small businesses and modernized it and made it awesome. What are the next things in the accounting industry what are the next trends that are coming?
I hope that the very next trend is when people look at players in the fintech market that have revolutionized certain experiences around firm services. Let's say bookkeeping was like the number one that happened about 10 years ago. And we've basically beat that horse dead. What I hope
What do you mean by
that is we've gone from desktop software and spreadsheets to cloud-based software to help with automation and really curbing the edge off so we can focus in on our real value as professionals.
Ackerman's afraid you're saying that it's fully automated.
What we've done at Gusto is we've done the same playbook around payroll. What I hope the next trend will be is, there is a framework to take other areas of practice life, like sales tax, like tax prep, like at XYZ, and take that same framework and apply it to other services. So that way the firm modernizes evenly and identifies other areas of the business that need to be advanced, with people advisory being that firms see the trend and, okay, I get it now. We can do this to sales tax. We can do this to tax prep. We can do this to that, the other. I think in all honesty, in the next 10 years, you're just going to see a huge flip of old firms going new and younger partners and older partners succeeding. And you're just going to see a huge wave of modernizing firms, rebranding firms. And I think that's going to be also
Are you familiar with Nucleus?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. That was our first sponsor.
I think that's the next decade. You're going to see this huge flip in the marketplace. I'm not going to drop like the blockchain garbage or anything like that.
No,
but
that's not about that. I'm over it.
So you think that with the younger partners, how long do you think it's going to take for firms to embrace fixed price agreements and keeping track of time and moving to flat technology, cloud stuff?
COVID, anybody who didn't embrace prior to COVID just got swept out to sea. And that was a huge forcing mechanism. I quite honestly believe just the retirement of the partners and the younger partners taking over, that's another forcing mechanism.
Are we ignoring the clients that work with those partners that are used to the old ways too? Because they have to be retrained. If the firm's doing things differently, all those clients who have been doing things for that many years have to be retrained too.
Yeah. And I think true. I think the third forcing mechanism, Jason, really is, which I'm working on right now. And I remember doing at AdvisorFi, which is why I created the videos that I did. And I was doing the kind of branding I was doing, was we need to actually arm our clients with the right things and the right skills and the right perspective to have about accounting professionals like you and I. Because what I know about our profession is we are very sensitive about losing a client. And if a client comes to you and says, arm them with the confidence to go to their current professional and say, something needs to change at your firm or else I'm leaving, that'll be a great forcing mechanism. At Gusto, we empower our own to basically coup the professionals that they're working with and overturn the industry and force them to change. And we're working on stuff right now that will do that. And that's stuff that I'm overseeing to be like, how can we help Gusto customers change the script, flip the script? So when they work with a Gusto partner or a non-Gusto partner and they say, why aren't you a people advisor at the moment? Why aren't you helping me with my people operations? The partner will have to look in the mirror and say, I'm going to lose that client unless I improve or
I've lost too many clients because of this already.
Or I lost too many clients because of it. So I think once again, it's going to be in my opinion, that's what's like true change is going to happen in our profession. It's a top down thing. And I think it's a bottoms up thing.
Yeah. It's both bottoms up and tops down. I like it.
Yeah, that's interesting having the clients, because we don't really see that because we're progressive and losing a bunch of clients. It's capitalism.
Right.
forces people to
It's
change.
so absent-minded that they just think they're
But
losing
they haven't
clients.
been. Most accounting firms make money. Like you can basically be completely stupid accountant. You're going to have business. And accounting firms haven't changed because they make a bunch of money. Why change?
Why fix it to COVID? They adapted, but they didn't actually change.
I think COVID forced basic things with paper between offices. You had to change something because everyone was working from home. There were a lot of firms that were still at that level. The bigger firms are past that. The next step is how do we treat our employees better so that they can grow with the firm? How do we get a Will who is if the accounting industry didn't do him right, because if we did, he'd still be in public accounting running a firm. Instead, he had to go to Gusto to realize his dream.
To your point, Jason, there is no reason to change because profitability is contingent on inefficiency.
So wait a second. Wait, this is going to cut our time. We used to spend 8 hours. We're going to spend an hour now. Wait, eighth of time on.
Yeah. How can we charge the client the same price? It only takes us an eighth of an hour to do it.
I feel like our profession is in an identity crisis. The accounting profession is in an identity crisis.
Sure.
If automation scares you, then you have presented yourself incorrectly.
Because versus those excited about automation. If you're excited about automation, that means you want to be able to do more for your client.
What firms have done today is they've tied themselves to the anchor instead of the sail, right? And as things replace our day-to-day work, as that anchor continues to drop and drop, you're just going to go further and further on the water. You've got to free yourself from the anchor and tie yourself to the sail because that's where the real value is as a professional. And I think firms right now are doing really well because all of the anchor hasn't been disrupted yet. And so they're fine where they're at.
What would you tell them to do to go on this change roller coaster?
How would you get
let the man answer?
Sorry.
I would look at the quantitative side of the firm and the qualitative. So I would say, how are we pricing ourselves? Are we really communicating the value of professionals or about us doing work? And if that's where we are as a practice, then I think the analysis of that work, the recommendations that come from the work, are we pricing to get things done or are we pricing to recommend things? It's black and white. Go to your website, look at it. If there's not one thing about your expertise, there's a problem. There's a big problem. When companies come around and start a better experience to do those things, what's going to happen to your pricing? Are you going to start discounting? You're going to run to the bottom of your value, pull out an engagement letter. If it's all about getting things done, there's something wrong.
I like the whole thing about the website because clients love our people page. Goes back to people advisory. They love our staff page. Ackerman's got a really good staff page too.
I think if I were to go back to my firm, I would have 3 packages that would say, we'll help you guide your business when times are tough.
So get all the other shit done. We'll also do your taxes and
no, I wouldn't even disclose all that. I would just say, here's what we're going to do for you. They're going to say, that sounds great. How are you going to get it done? Then we say, yeah, we'll do your taxes. That's part of it. We'll do your bookkeeping. We'll do forecasting. We'll do people advisory. We'll do consultation. But like where our value is in all this intangible stuff.
Ooh.
And that's how we price.
And you're pricing it on that. And you said, well, get everything else done. We got you.
That's table stakes.
Here's where we're at. Yeah, sure. Sizzling up. But here's where we when you need us most, we'll be there. Bam.
I love it.
That would be cool.
Bam.
I challenge anybody to create a pricing package that has nothing about what you do.
I'm already on it.
And that's kind of what
mine's a Mario Kart.
The new trend is doing flat subscription. Like you literally charge and instead of doing value pricing, you do a subscription model. Like Gusto, you pay $100 or $10,000, and this is what you get, and it's basically everything.
Yeah,
and you're the advisor.
Like if I had a recommendation for people advisory packages, I would say you'd have 3 packages. One that says the lowest would be essential payroll. Second one would be like team support, and the third one would be culture growth. That's it. That's how we're going to help you. We're going to help you build your culture. We're going to help support your team. And they're going to be like, whoa, that's amazing.
I love it.
But the way our brains fire is, oh, we want to run your payroll. we'll do your W-4s and your W-2s and your 1099s and automate this, that, and the other, rather than inspiring a client to understand that you have a lot more, like you are not that.
To understand they didn't come to you for the reason they came to you. We're going to do the reason they came to us, but we're also going to do all of this, which is what you really need and want us for. That's what we're going to deliver. This is what we're pricing. Like, we don't, it doesn't matter how long it takes us to do this. It doesn't matter what we're doing behind here. You're good. We got you covered. IRS comes knocking on your door. We got it. We will answer for you. But this is what you really want and need from us. And this is what we're selling. And here's those 3 options. I love that.
Yeah, I think that's what the clients want. I think the hardest thing for me and what I'm struggling with now is trying to figure out how you convey that to the client, how you're different from other accounting firms. It's hard to.
You say what you mean and you mean what you say. Like
but
that.
It's hard.
If they
but
mean
it's hard
it
for
too.
them like to come on. Maybe I just need to hire Will as a consultant. Like you talked about earlier, they have a conceived notion of what accounting firms do, what CPAs do. And we're doing something different that's advisor focused, people advisory. How do you convey that on your website to say, this is what we're doing? You're going to pay us triple what you're paying your current person, but you're going to get 8 times the value of it.
And you're going to want to pay us more.
Yeah. Look, I think a great exercise, literally great exercise, is get yourself in a conference room, go on a whiteboard, literally draw 3 boxes and say plan 1, 2, 3 in each box, and put things in there that have nothing to do with compliance work. Put things in there that you will deliver
benefits
that you will deliver to your clients as a result of that compliance work, whatever it looks like. Use don't even say tax prep, right? Don't use the archaic language that we tend to default to, but speak to the ambition that you're really trying to convey. I did a lot of tax planning. So for me, the way I sold tax planning, I didn't go to a client and say, I'll just do your tax planning every quarter and all that kind of stuff. Literally, there was a line item in my engagement letter that said, it was like, peace of mind with your taxes.
Yeah, we say a stress-free year. Stress-free year of all tax and compliance related work. That's what we call it.
I love that. I love this. This is a breakthrough.
Yeah. How about stress-free year?
Yeah, stress-free year. That's what ours literally is. Yeah.
Stress-free year around owing money to the government. Let's not use tax. Let's just say stress-free year about owing money to the government. They're going to be like, okay, you can deliver stress-free year. What does that mean? Like, how are you going to get that done? And then you start talking about the things you're going to do to get there. But what I'm saying is, I think if you were to look at the way you sell things and the line items in which you sell them, if it's all about the things that you're doing, you're not doing it. Like the things that the work to be done is what I'm really referring to. The work to be done. If your engagement letter has nothing but just the work to be done, then you're not doing it. What you should do is, if you're selling taxes, it should be just one category, right? Like stress-free year around owing money to the government. Then list the 4 things that you are going to work to get done. Try to use language in your packages that have nothing to do with your compliance.
What about visuals? Because I'm working on a Mario Kart track that shows 3 different paths they can go on with us.
You can do
how do you feel about Mario Kart, Will? Is that a good marketing strategy or no?
I know Scott loves like bobbleheads. He has them in his office. Is that what they are?
Something like that.
Yeah. They're not bobbleheads, but
pops. Yeah.
No. Look, whatever gets the message across, right?
But my market is like comic book stores and stuff and people that are like that though.
See, now that's creative, and what you're doing is you're tailoring an experience to that market, and I think go for it. Where I'm going to push everybody, especially
I'm not asking for validation. I'm saying the idea is to show that this is a journey and this is a track that we're going to be on, and it's not just we're selling you this.
We get it.
Okay. I was just. Maybe I was looking for some validation. Maybe that's what it was. Cool.
What's the next step for you before we end?
To do work that inspires clients to go back to their accountant and say, I need more modern you and less old you. We created People Advisory and helping accountants in that journey. And then secondly, I would like to turn my eyes to the clients that work with accounting professionals, better People Advisory clients to People Advisors.
I love it. This has been amazing. Okay, tell us where we can find you
On Twitter at ZWilster. On LinkedIn, Will Lopez. You'll see a big Gusto banner. You'll find all of me there.
It's not hard to find if you look. You will find him.
Surprisingly, with
He's
a
the
last name
best.
like Lopez.
It's such a common name, but oh man, you will find Will, and you'll
It's
love
good though. If you ever do something really shitty, you can just blend in with all the other logos. Be like, "Oh, it's just another one.
I'll just fade away.
it. Boom.